If Disney asked you to direct a movie for their Marvel or Star Wars franchise, would you say no? You'd be crazy to pass on such an opportunity. But for director Kevin Smith, it would be a hard pass. Stick around to find out why Kevin Smith won't direct a movie for them and more. So, why would Kevin Smith say no? Even though the near certain success that both Star Wars and Marvel movies appear to bring to their directors, Kevin Smith isn't too eager to direct one in either universe. The two franchises that belong to Disney have been action-packed as of late, with Marvel in the middle of Phase 4 and Star Wars presently streaming Andor. Kevin has a few connections to both franchises, as he makes small appearances in Star Wars The Force Awakens, as well as Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Also, Stan Lee reads the script for Mallrats, which Kevin Smith directed in Captain Marvel. Honestly, just the publicity of being connected to these franchises is a huge deal on its own, but having a bigger part in their production is life-changing. These movies are almost always a box office hit. The Star Wars universe is starting to come off a high with its Obi-Wan Kenobi television series, which brought in 6.2 million viewers in total on its first day ever, along with a 5-day audience of 1.8 million American households. And then there's Marvel.
He still needs its guardians.
Hello, we come in peace.
Who is also showing no signs of slowing down. Well, it is the highest grossing franchise in history, with nearly $27 billion in box office earnings, so why would they slow down? The franchise's rising financial trajectory appears to be continuing, especially with Phase 5 following on the steps of the long-awaited release of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Since the franchises have been constantly popular, it's shocking that the Clerks 3 director would make such an open and candid statement. Without holding back in an interview, Kevin Smith said that he has no ambition for the stardom that the franchise may bring, and that he prefers to share a story that only he can tell. For him, being a fan of these two worlds is more than enough. So, what did he say? He said that going near a Marvel or a Star Wars film would make him feel super shy. They already have too many people willing to make those films, but no one is making Kevin Smith films, so he might as well make those. It is a good point. Also, the job comes with a lot of negativity. The word of caution to these films attracting such a large audience is that they are even more likely to attract critics.
Going back a month ago, she's dating the dude, she hasn't brought him back to the house. And I'm like, why haven't I met this guy yet? And
Smith experienced this when he was tied to Masters of the Universe, but he expects the blowback to increase proportionally with the greater viewership, which makes complete sense. The newest Star Wars trilogy was a perfect example of this, with The Force Awakens being far too close to A New Hope for fans, and then The Last Jedi is much too far from the source material.
More powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Many fans of these franchises have grown up with the content and will take special offense if the films are not implemented flawlessly. This scares off some, including Kevin Smith, from wanting to poke at that bear. He just doesn't want to piss people off.
About comic books, big words. We were the internet before the internet.
That was appealing to me as a 13-year-old, because I was like,
But while money does speak, for some it isn't worth it. It's not always enough for some to give up their dreams. Given his remark, Smith appears to prefer telling his own stories over joining a billion-dollar brand and a chance at great fame and glory. Star Wars and Marvel movies tend to favor display over story, which is ideal for fans searching for an experience in the cinema, but less wonderful for directors seeking to deliver a specific message. And if we've understood anything from the films like Dogma and Tusk, it's that Kevin Smith always has a message in his head when he makes them. Don't go anywhere, we're just getting started. Stay tuned for more. Next up, Kevin reveals more intriguing thoughts in his interview. Did you know Kevin Smith had a major health scare in 2018 when he suffered from a heart attack? But guess what? He's glad it happened.
come in, and 4 of them were young, so they were looking at me like, is that Silent Bob? You know, and so...
That's crazy, right? But apparently this health scare was the greatest gift of his life. Why? Because not only did it make him go healthier and stuff, but it also inspired him to make a third Clerks movie. He has so far been transparent about his weight loss experience ever since he lost 17 pounds in 9 days and 26 pounds 4 weeks after the cardiac event. What he did was something called the mono diet, which suggests eating only potatoes for the first 2 weeks and then incorporating salads and vegetables into the diet during the next 3 months. The tragic event in his life put things into perspective, as it would for anyone. He channeled up the courage to lose about 50 pounds and even turned to veganism for his health. So, what does he say about being vegan? Ever since he started that vegan life after his heart attack 4.5 years ago, it's safe to say that he has remained vegan ever since. He said that there were times that he started to crumble inside when someone said, "Oh, that's got milk in it," because he felt like he was betraying his daughter Harley, who helped bring him into veganism. He went on to say that what he finds amazing about being vegan is that it takes you away from all the fun and fatty foods.
3 years at that point. So she was like, I got a
flip them. And she did, and I became vegan. And so I hate vegetables.
But you lose weight and start to look younger. And in this world, appearances are everything. He said, "How are you going to get laid if you look like an old person?" Good point, Kev. And the movie is an invitation to his heart. The third installment of his famous film series draws on Kevin's own personal experiences when Randall, played by Jeff Anderson, manages to survive a heart attack and recruits Brian O'Halloran's Dante, as well as Jay and Silent Bob, played by Jason Mewes and Smith respectively, to make a film about life at the corner store where it all started.
Stood there with our books. And then Sister Teresa goes, "Okay, just sit down." And we were all like, "What's the matter?" And she's like, "Well, the
Clerks 2, which arrives at the midpoint of Smith's career, mainly focuses on what it means to settle down, get ready for marriage, build a family, and adopt what you love doing, even if it conflicts with the aspirations of others.
Do a Q&A that's longer than the movie afterwards. So if people want to go to that, they can get tickets at clerks3.movie.
And Clerks 3 would almost certainly be a very different movie if Smith hadn't suffered the heart attack in 2018, forcing him to confront his own mortality in a manner that plays a significant role in the comeback of Dante and Randall. The duo are approaching their 50s and still working at the Quick Stop, which thankfully they now own. But when Randall has a heart attack, a sequence that comes mainly from Smith's direct experience, raw, rooted, and hilarious, and grounded by a delightful appearance by Amy Sedaris all at once, he decides that he must do something meaningful with his life, and so begins on making an independent film centered on his everyday life as a store clerk based on his real life. Aside from an audition series showcasing many of Smith's friends, such as newbies to the View Askewniverse and Smith's Master of the Universe actors Sarah Michelle Gellar and Chris Wood, the meta elements of the entire story cover a larger focus on mortality.
that, Meryl Streep, whatever. It's hard for me not to talk. Just throwing it out there.
What it means to lose loved ones, what it means to confront one's own death, or how it makes you acknowledge what you'll have to leave behind. Now, some of his regrets. If there's one regret that Kevin Smith has, it's not getting to know his father. But professionally, there were no regrets on his side. He said that sometimes even movies that just don't work ultimately do. Mallrats, for example, was a box office flop, and he'd have to for a while. He wishes he had known his father better. They were close, but his father wasn't as forthcoming as Kevin usually is. Kevin is the kind of person who wears his heart on his sleeve.
What a quaint time the 90s were. What dance craze was popularized by Los Del...
And even his child knows everything about him. His father, on the other hand, remains a mystery. He never motivated him to make films because he was a kid, but spending time next to him in the dark while watching movies was how Kevin learned a great deal about humanity. He says you can discover a lot about a person by watching what makes an adult laugh or cry when you're just a child. Also, Kevin Smith believes he is a far better talker than a filmmaker. He said he would stop making movies, but then he'd have nothing more to talk about. He thinks it's funny how he makes more money hanging out on the stage, talking about make films, than he does actually making them. He's even gotten into stand-up comedy as a result of his work in film.
It's great. I think we're more impressed with meeting Jim, to be honest, than Jim's meeting us. Like, Jim's been...
He thinks it's almost as if the universe is saying to him, your movies are cute, but you're best at talking. Although there are certain personal details that he manages to keep private, Smith's work and life are pretty much one and the same at around this point in his professional career. Today's film producers are more successful and gifted, but Smith stays the master of creating a film that feels truly personal. Do you think he should make a Marvel or Star Wars film? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for today. If you liked the video, please leave a like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more awesome content just like this.